Hey guys, and here we are back at that same part again. So, where I had to go back and fix up a mess up was during the part where you see Erik as a demon lord. At that part, instead of actually, not taking, like when you push the option, don't take any chances, that actually causes a 2-point reduction. So you actually have to choose the other option where you have to calm down and assess the situation. So by picking that option instead, you actually will get a better ending. So let's hope that worked because, like I said, everything else I pretty much followed to a T. That's the only option I did not choose apparently correctly. So we're going to go ahead and do the option again where we have to grab Diana. Okay, so there was no way I was going to let Orabel hurt her, sister or not. I rushed forward and grabbed Diana by the horns, pulling her back as fast as I could. Diana gripped onto my hand, sticking her nails into my skin, but I didn't care. I needed to bring her away from the incoming enemy. As I dragged her back, Orabel watched, unamused by my intrusion. I could only glare back, despite Diana flailing in my hands. She wouldn't take her away. I wouldn't let her. I finally released Diana's horns and stepped forward, placing myself between the two sisters. I won't let you hurt her. Orabel, looming towards us, filled me with dread. The stench of the Demon Lord's corpse was unbearable, despite not being dead long. I still had no energy to fight, the realization making me step back from the undead Demon Lord.
You hurt me! Hurt me! Now I'll hurt you!
Orabel picked up the Demon Lord's broken blade parts and slammed them together, fusing them back into one sword with her energy. How was that possible? She was a spirit. Orabel then started to charge at us, raising the sword barely over Erik's and my head. I prepared to defend, but was blocked by the back of Erik's head. In a wave of ethereal tendrils, all at once, the tendrils grabbed hold of the sword and forced it away. Around Erik's body was a deep aura of red and purple mist, swirling in the air and wrapping around his summoned tendrils. As he stepped forward, Orabel surprisingly stepped back.
I won't let you hurt the one I love.
With a snarl, Orabel lunged at Erik, trying to wrap her arms around him, but was pushed away by Erik's tendrils. Orabel and Erik charged at one another. Orabel gripping to Erik's outstretched tendrils and began to push at each other. The wounds on the Demon Lord's body began to open and bleed further, causing it to quake as it pushed against Erik's strength.
You won't last long in that body. Give up.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
With her screams, Orabel knocked away the tendrils before her and managed to get close to Erik, but not without impaling herself on traps Erik placed around him, which caused Spike to shoot up into the rotten body of the Demon Lord. Disgusted at the sight and smell, Erik used his tendrils to shove Orabel off of him and towards the opposite end of the room, where Orabel slid and rolled against the marble, painting it red and black with blood. Quickly, Orabel jumped back up and began to howl and scream, her cries filling the room and making it quake violently. Gah! I held my head trying to block out the sound, but her cries began to fill my head in dissonant pain. Erik, in defiance, sprayed a volley of spikes at her, all landing on target. The spikes remained in the course, but Orabel continued to move, desperate to fight back with everything she had. What was wrong with her? How was she able to keep going? Were spirits really that powerful? I quickly grabbed Diana, pulling her up to her feet, and ran to the corner of the room, needing to be in the room still to help Erik, but desperate to keep Orabel away from Diana.
Orabel!
Diana began to flail and fight back, but I dug my nails into Diana's side, forcing her back with gritted teeth. Diana, move! As Diana's back hit the corner of the room, I could hear Erik release a grunt of pain, causing me to look over my shoulder to see what had happened. Erik, having knocked away a slash from Orabel's sword, unfortunately couldn't block it. A fist from sending Erik flying at the wall. Erik's body slammed to the stone and he fell into the ground, gasping for air and curled over himself from the pain. Erik! I instantly rushed over and knelt at Erik's side, wrapping an arm over him as he slowly began to rise back up.
I'm fine, princess.
I shook my head and looked at Orabel, seeing her slowly make her way towards us. I was certain that the body she was using was drained of any blood, yet she managed to keep it moving with her own energy. It was morbidly disgusting to see, but I was forced to bear witness as it came close to where we were. What are you going to do? Erik and I looked to each other, desperate to find an answer in each other's eyes. However, one finally appeared in my mind. According to Diana, when I had Orabel within me, I was overflown with energy. If I was still standing, then I still had some left. There wasn't enough for me to fight, but there was enough to give to Erik to possibly help him. I suddenly grabbed Erik's face and kissed him, willing my energy into his body. Erik, despite naturally accepting it, stared wide-eyed at me in surprise. I didn't want to pass out, so I pulled away when I began to feel lightheaded. I hoped and prayed that it was enough energy to end this fight, so I smiled at Erik, nodding to him. Finish this so we can go home. I quickly collapsed onto my hands, panting for air. The room began to spin, but I had to shake it off. I had to see this through. Erik gazed at me before nodding and turning to Orbel, who was halfway across the room now. Slowly, Erik rose to his feet and summoned his mob of tendrils, each dancing, waving like angry snakes in the air.
You've been in my way for long enough, spirit.
Sorry. Okay. Walking forward, Erik lashed out at his tendrils at Orbel, whipping and snapping at the body she was possessing and forcing it back, despite her attempts to block and force them away. Erik so often a spike would fly from Erik's spring of tendrils, piercing into Orbel like a skewer. As Erik passed the Demon Lord's sword, he reached down and picked it up, surprisingly with ease. I could barely stand, gripping onto the walls, as I watched Erik lift the sword to his side.
You possessed my wife, brought her to this world, and dared to attack her? All because of what my father did to you. Pitiful.
Orbel let out a threatening and frightening shout, lurching forward to try and tackle Erik, but was pushed away by the Demon Lord's blade and Erik's tendrils, causing her to knock into and collapse on one of the nearby pillars. Orbel slowly rose, pushing the debris off of her, before glaring hard at Erik. Erik glared back in kind, before raising his father's blade up into his side, preparing to charge forward with it to plunge into her.
I will send you to purgatory and free you from your suffering.
With one last cry, Erik ran and thrust the Demon Lord's sword forward into Orbel, causing her to cry out. The room began to vibrate and quake, causing me to cover my head. However, Erik released the hilt of the sword and rushed back to me. A bright light filled the room, blinding Erik and I. Erik gripped onto me, trying to cover my body with his, but the white color of the flash invaded my vision. Silence slowly consumed the air as my world became blank like a canvas. I looked up at last to see the spirit orb bobbing up and down the air.
You saved me! Thank you! You freed me at last!
Orbel? The orb spun around itself once, releasing a small giggle. It seemed overjoyed, despite what had just happened earlier. Had Orbel been under some sort of corruption?
I can finally go home!
Orbel.
I turned my head to see Diana slowly walking forward to be by my side. Staring at the orb in both sadness and relief, Orbel floated over to hover in front of Diana, a soft line of sadness in her own voice.
I'm sorry, big sister,
It's all right. You're free now.
Diana wrapped her arms around Orbel, laying her cheeks softly on the orb as it flickered a warm glow. The air was calm, and the love between Diana and Orbel seemed to hum with the orb's light. However, Diana was still alive, and I could tell that this was her final goodbye to a sister she never got to meet. It was heartwarming as well as bittersweet, but Diana deserved proper closure with the sister she grew to love.
Tell Mother and Father that I'm all right, okay?
I
Orbel?
Diana and I suddenly looked into the light around us, hearing a man's voice. Orbel spun around in a circle, letting out a happy gasp.
will. Father? Father!
Orbel quickly left Diana's arms and began to fly into the bright light, but stopped and spoke once more.
Take care of the world, okay? You're everyone's mother now, sister.
Diana grinned and chuckled a bit, stray tears falling down the side of her face.
I'll do my best.
Bye-bye, human!
Bye! I couldn't help waving as the orb finally faded away into the light. As the world returned me to the Great Hall, I found myself still wrapped in Erik's arms. I looked up to see him staring down at me in worry, like I had passed out. Erik?
Love, are you all right?
I nodded. I was all right now. The battle was over, and I was free to return home. Great sacrifices were made, but it was all over now. I was going home. Diana, who had been sitting in the corner of the room, braced her knees to her chest, taking in what had happened as well. I was positive that she was truly there with me to say goodbye to Orbel, so she had to recuperate.
Sarah.
At her voice, a soft flash of light pulsed in front of her, before revealing Sarah out of breath.
Isaiah!
Despite being out of breath, Sarah quickly dropped to his knees and wrapped his arms around Diana.
I was on my way to tell you! We've won! We forced the enemy to dissolve and surrender and...
Shut up.
Aw. Sarah flinched before Diana wrapped her arms around his chest and pulled him tightly against her.
Just hold me.
Sarah stared down at Diana before nodding and embracing her, resting his head against hers comfortably. I could barely hear soft sobbing from her, but I was glad to know that Sarah was there for her. I looked up at Erik and smiled before kissing him, relishing in the victory of the rebellion and the release of my curse. I was finally going home. It was over. The war was finally over. As the smoke cleared, we were victorious. The soldiers left standing were the ones to cheer in victory. The sky became littered with the howls and cries of the joyful and happy. The tyranny of the Demon Lord had ended. But what now? Home was now possible. We could go back to the human world. We could live our lives as we wanted. It was something I desperately wanted, and yet my body was not ready to make the journey just yet. We had to celebrate the success of the war, after all. As the full moon rose over Lilith Castle towards the dawn, the entirety of the demon world celebrated with endless drink and food, laughter and dancing. It was so unreal. But the courtyard that I could see was filled with smiles and happy faces. We had stayed for one more night, traveling back to Lilith Castle to rest and return home as healthy as we could be. After all, we had just gone through a war. One more night in the demon world wasn't going to hurt us. While the majority of the rebellion danced in the courtyard, I remained with the incubi and the rebel leaders, who were all in the royal hall having their own celebration. Drinks were shared and battle stories were exchanged, making some laugh and others roll their eyes. I found myself intrigued at the stories Sergeant told about the front line. As I looked at Diana, however, she simply kept quiet with a small smile on her face. She looked at the incubi and the rebel leaders in silence before walking away from the little party we had. As if she knew I was staring at her, Diana looked over at me and slightly gestured with her head to follow her. I believe at this part I'm supposed to follow her, but we're going to double check that just in case. Okay, we have to follow her. Alright. Alright. I followed, curious as to where she was going. I made sure to remain quiet as I separated from the rest of the group and followed her out of the room into the hall. The entire journey, Diana didn't speak a word. Even Sarah didn't follow her, most likely being told that she wanted to speak to me alone. Diana led me through the castle, up a couple set of stairs, into what looked to be a royal bedroom with a balcony. Was this a guest room? It was untouched, and I could smell the very faint scent of dust. Why did she bring me here? Diana stepped into the room using her magic to ignite the candelabras and air out of the room by the opening balcony window. Before I could ask, however, Diana finally spoke up.
I have to thank you, dear.
For what?
For aiding us in this war. We've been fighting the Demon Lord for so long. We thought the war would never end. As terrible as the circumstance was, if you hadn't been summoned here, we probably would have still been fighting now.
Diana walked to the balcony and leaned up against the railing, staring into the dark night sky. The light from the room illuminated her form as she gazed at the stars. Despite the situation around us, the air seemed calm, with the faint echo of the celebration whispering through the night. I walked over and stood beside her, leaning against the balcony, and looked at Diana as she smiled and let out a chuckle.
To be very honest, I didn't expect to ever see you again. After I took your energy that night, I vowed to never deal with humans again. No clairvoyance could have told me about you coming into play in this war.
I wasn't exactly counting on coming here. Diana smiled and nodded to me. I really was glad to help bring peace to a world. It wasn't out of pride or vanity, it was a matter of helping people clearly in need.
We owe you much thanks.
I'll accept your thanks when I finally get married.
Oh, I had almost forgotten.
I tilted my head at her. What was she talking about? Diana lifted one of her hands towards the sky and waved her hand through the air, making a soft purple mist glow around her fingers. Within seconds, the mist formed itself into a lavender-colored lily, resting peacefully between Diana's fingers. She brought it down and presented it to me with a kind gaze.
A gift, my dear.
A gift? I slowly took the flower out of Diana's hands and inspected it visually. It was light, but I could feel a soft glow of magic emanating from the stem and petals. The bloom reminded me of a human world lily, but something about it seemed otherworldly.
A flower known only to demons of Lilith. We call it the Flower of Lilith, because these flowers were said to have been created when Lilith first appeared in the abyssal plains.
I stared at Diana, not understanding why she was giving me such a gift. She chuckled at my confusion and leaned against the railing, continuing her explanation.
It is also a flower we succubi use when we marry.
Use? What do you mean? Diana chuckled again before she gently took the flower from my hands and tucked it behind my ear. As it settled against my ear, I felt mist circle my head and form into a flower crown of lavender lilies. The way Diana looked at me made me feel like I was in my bridal wear already.
A human you may be, but Lilith would have been proud to see you marrying one of her own. These flowers represent her blessing, and may only crown the worthy.
I felt a blush run across my cheeks. This was a blessing. I slowly reached up and ran my fingers along the flower crown adorning my head, feeling the soft petals against my fingertips. They were almost pulsing with energy. I felt both flattered and honored that a simple flower felt that I was worthy enough to crown my head. Diana let out a sigh and looked back to the sky, making me do the same. One would have expected the sky to be full of smoke, or smell of a war's aftermath, but the sky was clear and the fresh air drifted through my nose as I inhaled. It was indeed another world, and tonight was my last night in it.
Well, you did it! Congratulations! You've made it to the end of your story. I have to say, I am very surprised at how it turned out. Nevertheless, I'm glad things worked out in the end, whether it was for the better or otherwise. I mean, who would have thought that Diana's own sister was the one that brought you to the demon world? It's a small universe, isn't it? However, your love came through in the end. With your strength, Erik was finally able to defeat Orabelle and send her to the afterlife, where she belonged. Anyways, you've been through a lot, so why don't we skip to... Huh? You want to know what happened after the war? Well, I mean, I guess I could tell you. After the war was finished, the entire rebellion celebrated. Word spread far and wide about the rebellion's success, and soon every kingdom in the abyssal plains had become united with the new authority. You would think demons would be more hostile towards each other, being demons and all, but the threat of the Demon Lord was what brought the entire world together. The entire world united under one banner, the Lilith Crest. Diana became the sovereign of the entire plane, accepted and loved by practically everyone because of her devotion to the world and her bravery in the war. And, thanks to you, she was finally able to find true love in the form of a tainted Nephilim named Sero.
Aww.
Oh, crap! I shouldn't have let that one slip. Oops. Anyway, when they bound their souls together in marriage, he became king of the demon world. However, it was just a title to him. The real power belonged to Diana. Diana became one of the most beloved rulers in all of demon world history. Her natural heart of gold led her to lead the world to a prosperous future, one filled with peace and happiness. The other rebel leaders supported her, eventually changing the caste system of the world and slowly working their way towards a plane as equal and peaceful as it could be. Diana had her suspicions, of course, as any monarch would, but if they had any sort of bad thoughts about her before, they certainly didn't during the recreation of the world. And I believe that is everything that happened after, well, except for your story anyway. Erik and you returned home, and since everything was taken care of before he found you, you got ready for the actual wedding. Huh? How do I know? Well, I have my ways. Maybe you should check it out.
I love her. Now that I was unhindered by a spirit I couldn't control, I was able to finally move on and say yes to Erik with every ounce of my heart in our wedding vows. My entire being became light as I watched his expression melt into endless joy at my vows to him. Our kiss was as magical as a fairy tale prince and princess kiss, glowing in positive and hopeful energy as the people who watched cheered in congratulations. I could go on and on about the wedding and the honeymoon, but honestly, after the war, I was more concerned of living my life afterwards. Our lives escalated to new heights after we officially became husband and wife. Erik started a chain of suit shops and had become a very powerful man in the fashion business industry. It was rather hilarious to see him square up James every fitting he needed with a smirk of equal standing to his once upper-tier brother. As for me, I began to go through my own success in life, dedicating myself to becoming exactly what I wanted to be. After all, my husband had made a name for himself in the fashion world. If I put the same amount of work in as I did in the demon world, then I was going to be okay. However, there was never a day that went by that I didn't think about what was happening in the abyssal plains. It was a heavy chapter in my life, one that tested love between me and Erik. To think that I was under the influence of a child who needed to be set free still astounded me to no end. For a moment I myself almost believed that I was pregnant instead. Thankfully, that wasn't the case. Still, I was confident that he would go through it and stay together no matter what came our way. Demon, devil, spirit, it didn't matter to us. We were unstoppable together. The faint memory of my own power slightly tingled through me every time I grew confident, eagerly reminding me that I had strength of my own. I would never let anyone come between me and Erik ever again. The thought of it all echoed in my mind as I sat in bed, looking up at the ceiling with a wide smile on my face. Despite the dangers being real, the war was an adventure fun to look back upon in my memories. I took in a breath and let out a sigh, leaning back against the bedpost and closing my eyes. I was at peace, and everything was all right.
Princess?
I opened my eyes at the sound of my pet name, looking up to see Erik at the door, smiling at me and holding a plate of food. Unlike the demon world, this world had the makings of pastries, eggs, bacon, and sausage, the other delicious concoctions made for the early morning. As I took in the sight of all my favorite foods on the plate in Erik's hand, I licked my lips and let out a happy hum. Hey, that looks delicious.
And it's all for you.
I was squealing internally, feeling a bit spoiled at the treatment he was giving me. As he walked over and sat on the edge of bed, Erik handed me the plate and watched as I accepted it and took a bite of what he offered, groaning at the amazing taste. With a smile, I took some of it onto the fork that was on the plate and offered it to Erik, seeing him stare at me in slight surprise before smiling and taking the bite, licking his lips after. Thank you, Erik. You spoiled me.
Anything for you, my sweet princess.
I giggled at the name, nuzzling Erik's hand as it came to caress my cheek, lovingly. His hands were always so soft and warm, perfect to hold me and make me feel loved and safe. I opened my eye to look up at him cutely, seeing him blush with a smile of his own.
I would happily do anything for you.
Anything?
Anything. Just name it.
I cupped his hand and gently placed a kiss over his palm, feeling him stare in surprise at the gesture. I could almost hear the blush on his face intensify before I even looked back at him to confirm it. He was red as an apple. Perfect. I giggled again and nuzzled his hand, almost laying my head on it. Be with me forever. I took a small, cute moment for Erik to regain his composure before nodding, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear.
Forever. And always.
Hold me every day and every night.
As close as I can hold you to me.
Sweet waves of joy rushed through me every answer he gave, confirming his devotion and love for me. I was so lucky to have him as my own, and I couldn't tell that he believed himself to be the lucky one. Or I could tell, sorry. In honesty, we were both the lucky ones, perfectly blending together and devoting ourselves to each other without a second thought. We've proved it in the demon world, and we would prove it for the rest of our lives. I gently pulled Erik towards me, moving the plate between us to the nightstand, smiling as he came closer before capturing his lips with mine in a loving kiss. He was definitely surprised, but it wasn't long before he began to kiss back just as passionately. The gentle taste of roses and rain always made me feel at peace, and I always managed to find it on Erik's lips. He was my perfect prince, and I was his loving princess. Our mansion was a castle, and the human world was our kingdom to explore. What story could have been better? As we gently pulled away, we gazed into each other's eyes, becoming lost in them. All I could see in his purple irises were waves of love and care, filling my heart with everlasting peace. I began to wonder what he saw in my eyes. Whatever it was, he became entranced, and could do nothing but wrap his free arm around me, pulling me to him lovingly.
Everything in my life belongs to you. My heart, my body, my soul. Everything. I swear to give you everything I am, and love you until the end of time. Nothing will tear me away from you.
Erik. With a tender kiss on my forehead, Erik's expression softened to a gaze of deep love.
I love you, princess. I love you so much.
I believed every word. I let his words embed themselves into my heart, and I remember them forever. As Erik kissed me again, locking lips with mine, he sealed his words. I would love him and continue to hold him close for the rest of my life. Nothing would be able to tear me away from him any longer. And that was my perfect, happily ever after. End. Hopelessly devoted to you. Well, guys, that was the end of Erik's route, and that was the true happy ending. Though, I am a little sad, though, honestly. I was really hoping they were going to have a baby, but oh well. You know, that doesn't mean that one of the other routes might not. Who knows? We'll see, but anyway, though, guys, it was really, really cute story. Erik is probably my second favorite, maybe third. I don't really know. I mean, I love his acts sometimes, but I'm not crazy about the whole princess thing. I don't know. That's just not my favorite pet name. But Erik is super, super sweet. So, you know, I can't complain. But honestly, though, I want you guys in the comments below to tell me who you guys think is your favorite guy. Because, like, I would really love to know, like, do you guys love Matthew? Do you love Sam? Like, I mean, for Matthew, do you guys love his cute adorableness? Like, I don't know. I think he's cute and adorable. Like, he reminds me so much of Honey Senpai from Ouran High School Host Club. Like, that's who I think of every time I see Matthew. His just cute playfulness. That's why I love his wife that they gave him. Like, she's like so perfect for him. Like, then, you know, you have Sam and stuff, like the big tough guy and stuff. He's kind of got very Tanzuri type personality. So, I have no clue. Yeah, the song's kind of loud. We're going to turn this down. Yeah, okay, we're going to turn the song down a bit. But, no, like I said, you also have Sam, and then, of course, you know, Damien. I like Damien because he's kind of the quiet type. Like, you don't really know what to expect from him. So, Damien is very adorable for that much. But like I said, my all-time favorite is James, but I should explain. I have a big obsession with guys with glasses. Like, oh, I know, I just love that nerdy, like, sophisticated, gentlemanly look. And then, like, not Eric's, but James's voice, like, makes me swoon. I love the voice actor who does his voice. Like, I love that voice. Like, it just has a very posh, gentlemanly air. But like I said, anyway, though, I want to know who you guys like, and just tell me why you guys like him. Because like I said, like, just which one do you enjoy? And like I said, I'm also going to do Diana's as well. For, you know, just because she is an option there. So we'll go ahead and do her story as well. I'm not really crazy about doing that whole Yuri thing, but I know some people like that. So I will do her route as well, even though I'm not crazy about it. Like, I like Diana as a person, and I'm happy for her and Sarah, but romantic route-wise, I'm not really crazy about doing a romantic route with her. But like I said, I did for the other ones. I got all of the options, so we will do it for Diana. But anyway, though, these credits are really, really long. Wow. I mean, the song isn't bad, but I'll do the credits in a different video this time. I don't feel like doing them right now on this one. But anyway, though, guys, that is all of the endings. Like I said, I posted a video with 2 of the endings in there because they were just right next to each other. Easy to get. and then this ending, of course. And of course, I'll do a bonus video of the other ending of if you kill Diana and stuff without celebration things. We'll do a video of that, plus all the bonus stuff. I'm getting all the passwords from the end of this. So like I said, I'll do a video of all of it together. Okay, I read the end of that. That was funny. It's the end. Oh, yay, happiness, round of applause. I love that. Of course they're going to put that because there's always a bonus thing they keep putting at the end of these things. But anyway, though, like I said, guys, there probably is something if you do the little bonus over here. I had to put a password in, but I don't have that yet because I haven't done all the routes. So when I have completed all the routes and posted every single person's route up, because like I said, this time around, they don't have a common route like the other previous videos do. So once we have all of the routes and everything put together, we will go ahead and do the bonus where we'll show everything, bloopers, and any other scenes I had missed. Now, in one of the next videos, I don't know if I can get it to pop up. I believe it can again. And Erik's route, I actually found out that apparently when you are exploring the castle, if you actually take and do a left instead of left right or right left, you have to constantly keep going left. You unlock a special scene between Sero and Diana. So hopefully I think I can get it in one of the other routes. If I can, then I will show you guys that quick little scene. If not, then I'll do it in the bonus clip real quick as a quick bonus. So we'll see how that one works out. But thank you guys so much for watching Erik's route on Seduce Me to the Demon War. The next video I will probably be uploading might either be Matthew or Damien, or I might do Diana just to get her out of the way. Because like I said, I'm not super crazy about Diana's story, so we might do her to get her out of the way. And I'll work on the rest of the guys later. Like I said, James, we always save the best for last. And James is my favorite, so we are saving him for last. But anyway, though, guys, thank you so much for watching Seduce Me to the Demon War.